Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Laura Hanna, and I am an English associate professor at Valdosta. I was at Valdosta State University. Now I'm at a college called North Florida College. And North Florida College is a small rural college in North Florida. And my presentation today is going to really focus on how we're implementing high impact practices at Valdosta State. And I'm going to just set my timer here. Let's continue. We are currently implementing an honors college setting into our college at North Florida. And I am using my experience at Valdosta State University, where I worked for many years. I worked at Valdosta State University in many capacities for about 8 years, and 5 of those years I worked with the Valdosta State University Honors College. And I just started at North Florida. It is a community college, and we are slowly implementing it into a college that has more and more 4-year programs. So right now we have a 4-year nursing program and multiple 2-year programs, both in the Associate of Arts, the Associate of Science, and several little certificate programs. And I kind of came into North Florida College right when we began to develop the Honors College. So now let me kind of talk about my experience with high impact practices at Valdosta State University, and then talk about how we're planning to develop those at North Florida College.
So Laura, actually, yes. You're not sharing the correct screen. You're sharing the presenter view. If you want to share your other screen so we can see the presentation in full view.
Sure. Yes. Okay.
Nope, we still see the presenter slide.
Okay, how about now?
No, that's good. Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll come back to this screen at North Florida College. Valdosta State University is a regional comprehensive 4-year university. And we started with an honors program, which I'm actually the product of. I graduated in 2013 from Valdosta State University's honors program. And right after I graduated, they transitioned it to an honors college with several requirements. First of all, they boosted up the GPA requirement from a 3.0 to a 3.5. And there are several core principles, and many of these were the same principles as when Valdosta State had an honors program. The first one was research, implementing research in both the lower level and upper level courses. Experiential activities, which include interning. So if someone is a nursing major, they are required to intern at hospitals. If someone is a business major, they are required to be an intern in whatever business area they are in. So for instance, a student interested in accounting would intern at an accounting office. And so many of these are already practiced, all of these high impact practices. But the Honors College creates an avenue through which students can weave all of them together in an organized way. So part of my presentation goal is to show that high impact learning can happen outside the honors setting. But the reason I'm using the lens of the honors setting is because it helps to encompass and encapsulate all of these different high impact practices together in the same setting. And if there is the ability for mentorship and advising, students can have the mentorship and the advising to help guide them through these different principles instead of sort of having them be isolated if they were not in an honors setting. So research, experiential activities, leadership activities. Students can gain honors credit from being in leadership roles in clubs and sororities, and also in developing their own solutions to problems they may find in the community. And that goes hand in hand with experiential activities. There's also cultural experience and diverse understanding that can include a study abroad. It can also include creating a mechanism through which people in the community can bridge divides and come together. And students can also research different cultures, and they can research different solutions to cultural problems and misunderstandings. I will get back to the portfolio in just a second. The first year seminar is year-long at Valdosta State. And in the fall, students take Honors 1990, which is the introduction to the honors setting. And that introduction helps students learn what it means to be an honors student, but more than that, what it means to really learn and to have internal motivation for learning. When we talk about high impact practices, and when we talk about them specifically in an honors setting, we really can focus on the intrinsic motivation that students should have to learn and to gain knowledge and to seek out knowledge through these high impact practices. So that's priority number one. How can we help motivate students to want to do these things? These are these core principles: research, experiential activities, leadership, cultural experience, and diverse understanding, and those first year seminars that are embedded into the honors setting. All of those are not really going to be effective unless students actually want to take part in them. And so that's priority number one for high impact practices. Helping seek out those students who want to enhance their experiences, whether or not they are in an honors college. And I'm going to talk in a few minutes about how Valdosta State University is implementing some of these practices separate from honors. Let me come back to the portfolio. So a lot of colleges are going in the direction of having students complete e-portfolios. And the Valdosta State University Honors College requires each student to produce an e-portfolio as their final product of having been in the Honors College. And each section of that website, each section of that portfolio contains examples and artifacts of what the student researched as an undergraduate, the experiential activities that the student completed, leadership experience that the student has, ways in which the student developed cultural understanding and acceptance of others, and the understanding of how diverse and complex our world is. A lot of the students who do study abroad will even include pictures of their study abroad and describe what is going on in those pictures and how those pictures illustrate in visual media what they learned. And also artifacts from those two honors classes, the honors 1990 and the honors 2010. And honors 2010 is a more in-depth version of the introductory course, which is honors 1990. And students also complete a research paper in that honors 2010. So what I've just shown and discussed is a very comprehensive very detailed, thorough example of how Valdosta State University is weaving in all of these experiences for students to gain from high impact practices. But students don't have to be in honors to gain from these practices. So now I'm sort of wanting to talk about North Florida College, and then I'll talk about the ways in which we can implement these practices outside the honors setting. Just one more note about Valdosta State University. They are now completing the next phase of their high impact practices, which is implementing those practices into non-honors courses, specifically through experiential activities. So now all new freshmen have to complete an experiential or leadership activity in at least 2 of their freshman level courses. So their English composition, for instance, will have an embedded leadership or experiential activity, or an activity where students must go out into the community and find out how to improve something in the community. So if a student is a business major and they want to go into city planning, for example, they would go out into the community, find a place in the city, maybe public works, for instance, and go observe and find out what the employees at Public Works do, and perhaps find a way to make something more productive in that setting, or to help make it more streamlined. Or if a student is a computer science major and they go to the public library and learn about some of the problems at the public library with their computer system, for instance, that student's experiential activity could be streamlining one of the computer programs used at the public library. So that embeds and incorporates experiential activities while also helping the students gain real world skills in the area that they are wanting to major in. And so I've taken all of this knowledge and understanding that I learned from Valdosta State University, and it's really a unique opportunity to get to help develop the honors program at North Florida College, and have all of that information that I learned from Valdosta State on high impact practices, both inside and outside the honors college setting. And so right now we're in the planning stages of our honors program at North Florida College. And here are some of the high impact practices that we are beginning to plan to embed in the honors college, in the honors program setting. And just to clarify, Valdosta State University has an honors college because it is actually a college within the university, you know, like the College of Business or the College of Nursing, whereas North Florida College is a smaller setting. We only have, you know, less than 2,000 students, so we call it an honors program because it's going to be smaller, and it's not devoted to an entire college. So our first priority is to embed research, which we already do, into Composition 1 and Composition 2, but we're going to tweak it a little bit and allow students to do some more research more related to their major, rather than a research activity that is the same all across the students. So if a student is getting their EMS degree, they could do research on the top problems that people in emergency services face in the times of COVID-19. Or if a student is getting an associate's degree in humanities, they could do their research project in Composition 1 on something historical if they're interested in history, or something in the sociology lens if they're more interested in sociology. So allowing students to do this kind of research opens up the door to students gaining some more specific and honed skills for whenever they transfer from this college and complete their sociology degree at a four-year college, or if students are going to go straight into the workforce after they finish their two-year degree with North Florida College. They're much better equipped at handling specific real-world problems rather than being isolated in a bubble where they only learned from the textbook. So that's the beginning of carving that real-world experience out, that real-world research in Composition 1 and Composition 2. In addition, students can gain credit in honors through experiential activities. So they may go observe life at the hospital, and they can gain credit from that experience. They can also do any number of experiential activities in any number of fields and gain experiential experience in that area. Leadership and cultural experience and understanding, those remain largely the same, even though we're talking about a smaller college setting. Those are largely going to be the same as they are at the university setting. And of course, the ePortfolio is one that we would work very closely with students to really hone their portfolio based on their goals. So if the student plans to transfer and complete a four-year degree, we would help make that portfolio geared toward that setting, showing how the student is going to continue their learning once they transfer. If the student is going to finish their coursework and have their degree after their 2 years of training at the college, if they're, for instance, doing the truck driving diploma, they could put in their ePortfolio all of the different high impact practices that they learned at the college and in the honors program in their ePortfolio, so that when they're applying for jobs, they can embed a link to their ePortfolio, and potential employers can see all of the different ways that the student gained experiential experience, leadership experience, cultural experience, and research skills. And it doesn't matter if the student is going straight into the workforce or going to continue to gain a four-year degree. Having those research skills are always going to be important, because employers are going to task employees with problems, and it's going to be up to the employees to research how to fix those problems. So every high impact practice that we've listed here, that I have listed here, is going to be useful to any student who has any goal, whether they plan to continue on in college or not. And ultimately, I hope that at North Florida College, we'll be able to use the honors program as a pilot study for these high impact practices. And once we hone them, and once we see how they work out in real time with the students, with the honor students, my hope is we can begin to embed these same high impact practices into the non-honors classroom, so that all students can benefit from these different high impact practices. So I do not like to think of the honors setting as an elite setting that is separate from the rest of the college. That's actually not, it's not a very productive mindset. Rather, I like to think of the honors program setting as the opportunity to practice these high impact practices on a smaller group of students, hone and shape and develop these high impact practices, and then take them after we've really developed them and see how they work with the honor students, and then infiltrate these high impact practices for the students at the rest of the college so they too can benefit. It's really important that high impact practices be given as tools to all students, not just the honor students. And that was one of my, that's one of the things I feel very passionately about, is to not have things siphoned off, but rather to use the honors setting as a small case study, develop these high impact practices, and then apply them so the rest of the students can also benefit. And it's really a transitional time because we're just beginning to implement these practices. We're in the planning stages of planning them for the honors program setting, and we're all really excited at North Florida College to begin this work. And I've finished my portion of the presentation. I'd love to hear questions anybody may have.
Thank you so much. So right now we're going to go ahead and use the Q&A feature of Zoom. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the box and I will let Laura know. I'll give them a few minutes to populate their answers or
Sure.
questions.
Thank you.
No problem.
I would also like to just mention while we're waiting that, and I do think I see something written in the chat, high impact practices, they can really be designed to be equitable. And I just kind of gave how high impact practices can be implemented at a comprehensive regional 4-year university that has several doctoral programs, and how I'm kind of taking my knowledge from that setting and applying those same high impact practices to a 2-year college setting. So we have the power to use high impact practices and give students quality experiences that can really help guide them and help them make the most of their college experience wherever they are. So what are some of the questions? I think I see 2 of them in the Q&A.
Yep, we have 2. Do you help students find opportunities within the community?
Good question. Thank you. Yes, when I worked at Valdosta State University, I worked there in many capacities. I was an academic advisor for the Honors College. I also was an undecided advisor. Yes, I did help students find opportunities within the community. When I taught at Valdosta State University, I also helped the students that I taught find experiential opportunities and opportunities in the community. But also, you know, it's going to be difficult for somebody like me, who's an English professor, to find a nursing student, a nursing internship. So a lot of the different departments on campus already had opportunities built in. So the nursing school, for instance, the students were already required to go work several semesters at the hospital. So what we did in honors was we formalized those experiences, and we had students write reflections on those experiences and really think metacognitively about what they learned. So to answer your question in short, it was a combination of helping students find more general experiential activities that any student could benefit from, and depending on the coordinators of the majors the students were involved in and majored in, to also help find major specific experiential activities and internships.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Next question is, 2-year college students are often working. What type of experiential or leadership opportunities will you offer?
What an excellent question. And to that, I would say it's very exciting to think about the possibility of allowing students to use their current job and find ways of implementing some sort of internship metacognitive experience at their job. So, and I'm going to give a very simple example. Say a student works at a fast food restaurant and they are a business major, and there is a problem with the supply chain, for instance, and the student is able to think critically and research a solution to that problem at their job. They could use what they did to help solve that problem and write about it in a journal or write about the steps that they took to fix that problem. And in that way, they have really thought deeply about how to fix a problem, and they actually implemented a solution to the problem. And for that, we can give them experiential credit. That's also illustrative of leadership. Or if a student moves up into a management position, that's also indicative of leadership. But what we would do to formalize it is have the student write about why what they are doing in their job or why their promotion is helping teach them something, especially teach them something related back to their major or their future life goals. So that's one way that students can students with a very restricted time schedule can help embed some of these high impact practices into their lives. Other questions?
Thank you. We have one last question. As far as increasing retention, what have you seen and how have you implemented this as a way to increase retention?
Awesome question. Thank you. So one of our goals, and I'll go back to one of the things I said at the very beginning that I didn't really elaborate much on. One of our goals is to move from extrinsic learning, so just learning to get a check mark in a box, or just taking a class to check mark a box, or just doing a leadership activity to check mark a box. We want to help students move from doing that to more intrinsic learning, to finding out what it is that sets them on fire for learning, that makes them excited. High impact practices, especially through experiential activities, leadership, cultural experiences, and researching what they want to research about, what's interesting and exciting to them, the students. If students can gain that intrinsic desire to learn, rather than just checking a box, that's going to help with retention, because if students want to do these activities, they're going to find a way to continue and they're going to do well. So high impact practices help solve the problem of retention because they help students find the real meaning in their learning. And we have found that students who really are engaged and who find what they're passionate about and who have the ability to do these different high impact practices in what it is they're passionate about, I have noticed in my own personal experience, they do tend to be retained from semester to semester.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Hannah and thank you all for attending today. If you or any of your fellow instructors are interested in presenting for our Learning and Growing webinar series, please submit your proposals to the Learning and Growing website, which I'm going to go ahead and link in the chat right now for easy reference. All right. And we will be emailing you a link of the recording today once the webinar is available. And I hope everyone else has a great rest of your day.
Thank you, and thank you all for attending.
All right, thank you, Laura. I am going to go ahead and close out the webinar now. It was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.